I'm not going to talk about emerging technologies because we've heard quite a lot there from Julia about the potential into the longer term and some of those which have some applicability today. And I'm also not going to talk about cyber, but we can pick that up in questions if anyone has particular issues. What I'm going to try and do is to talk about the challenge of integration and the problems that we've experienced in the past, the problems we experience today, and some options for how we might look at this going forward. So one of the key contributors to the performance of British forces in Afghanistan was our ultimate development of ISR capability. But it was only when those capabilities were brought together with an improved intelligence organization that commanders at all levels were provided with something approaching the required level of understanding that they needed. Slow learning is a pattern that has occurred across my experience on all operations. Now, I don't think it's just me, but it's entirely possible that it may be. But we've learned slowly as we go through operations, and that integration challenge is one that we get to after a period of time. We must make sure that it doesn't happen again. We must be properly set to conduct integrated ISR operations in the land environment to enable the generation of understanding at the outset of future conflict. And given that the UK is currently engaged on 20 operations around the world, in an era of clouded complexity and contested competition, we must be ready now. Now, the UK has made significant investment over time in ISR collection capability. Projects such as Watchkeeper, Reaper, Rivet Joint. And we've made considerable progress in developing integrated operations with our partners across government and with our allies, particularly with the US. But our communications architecture, although it has improved, there is still room for massive improvement in order to enable us to truly network capability. Our intelligence capacity has increased massively with the creation of the Defence Intelligence Fusion Centre at Witten and Service Intelligence Fusion Centres. And it's remarkable that the Army didn't have an intelligence centre until 2009. Now, I could have shown a slide to demonstrate ISR capabilities. You know the one that's always shown of lots of different collect platforms with arrows connecting them all together and an impression that data is flowing around and that everyone is connected and the PowerPoint slide's relatively easy to draw. Now, I haven't produced that slide for this briefing because we're not there. The problem is we haven't realized that picture. My problem is that it's my job to fix it. The key now is to integrate the capabilities we have to provide not just information superiority or knowledge dominance or whatever the phrase may be, but actually to leverage that to decision advantage. This must be about what the information and intelligence is for. Our ISR and understanding is only of use when applied to decision-making, and that of decision-making at all levels. This is both for integrated operations and for persistent forward engagement. The integration necessary will require us to embrace fully new technological opportunities and to make a conceptual shift and to organize and work in a different way. So technology offers great opportunity in ISR and understanding. But we're challenged by 3 V's. Firstly, volume. The available data is huge and is constantly expanding. There's more video uploaded to YouTube every day than the output of the first 50 years of television. Well, in fact, that's not true. I made that up. But lots of people in this field make up lots of things about how technology is taking over. But it might be true. But there again, it's probably not. But the scale of data is a challenge for us to understand what we already know. Now, I don't want to get too Rumsfeldian about what we know and what we don't know. But we must be able to search in a timely manner against all the information that we have, and that must be a basic requirement to be able to access what we already have collected and what we should already know. We should note that we did not have an intelligence database in Afghanistan until 2009. It's just remarkable that we got to that place. The second V is variety. This massive data comes in a variety of formats, making analysis across databases hugely difficult. However, the opportunities provided by things like quantum computing and the sophisticated tools that Julia spoke about earlier mean that we have opportunities to be able to crack the problem of information stored in different ways. The third V is velocity. The flow rate of data is increasing and is challenging our ability to cope. And the information environment is constantly changing. And our challenge is to be able to determine when that change is significant. The power of computer processing allied to massive and cheap storage means that we will be able to know and access that which we previously collected. Big data analytics have the potential to transform intelligence, and applying smart tools against huge data sets and being innovative in finding what that data can tell us is crucial. So if we take a non-military example, a US finance company called FICO, they invented the credit rating back in the 50s. They hold masses of personal data that's stored as a consequence of people's credit ratings. So they use that data, marital status, house, car ownership, financial status, what you spend your money on. They use that data, and they saw what they could find from that data. And one thing they determined was to work out the likelihood of people taking the prescribed course of medicine that had been given to them by their doctor. And with a remarkably high percentage accuracy, they were able to predict who wasn't doing this. This meant that there could be interventions in order to remind people to take their medicine if they had forgotten, but there were also ability to then rescope the terms of their life insurance in order to make sure that they pay more on the basis that they are somewhat reckless with their health, thereby saving the company money. But this idea of being able to look at different data sets, which are ostensibly serving one purpose, but actually may provide insights and truth in another area. Also, the availability and even ubiquity of open source information has the ability to provide new insights. As an example, the growth of commercial satellite imagery will be huge. It will give us an opportunity of a much faster refresh rate at high resolution and at low cost. And this has the potential to enable change detection, which could help us with indicators and warnings and support deployed military operations. And new software tools have the potential to transform our ability to analyze and fuse our information. And this will extend to how we disseminate information and intelligence. In ISR, existing platforms can be significantly enhanced by adding new sensors or altering existing ones. And this will require agility of thought and of process. By networking sensors together, rather than having isolated downlinks, we have the potential to automatically cross-queue sensors based on predetermined algorithms that become increasingly sophisticated through learning. This offers significant potential for the warfighter. Time is often the constraint, and too often we have been too late with the truth. Sensor technology is advancing at a rapid pace, much of which is driven by the commercial sector, and agile procurement is necessary. This may mean that we have to accept more risk in our acquisition, and I'd much rather learn and adapt by failing fast than by getting a cutting-edge 2015 capability in 2020. The conceptual shift that I believe we're going to have to move from is searching for causality to move to looking at identifying correlation. Traditionally, intelligence has sought to provide answers to puzzles and mysteries, often using exquisite capabilities to do so. But we rarely unlock the puzzle and often fail to solve the mystery. This quest has really been to understand why things are happening. On future operations, we will be able to see much more of what is happening from our ISR sensors, from non-traditional collectors, from open source and commercial collection. And by collecting as much battlefield data as possible, combined with powerful analytics, our ability to see and understand what is happening will be greatly enhanced. And through sophisticated analysis of what we know, we will be able to identify correlations between events and activities. We may not understand why things are happening, but we will be better able to see what is happening and to be able to make probabilistic predictions about what will happen next. Of course, we still need to develop cultural understanding and feel the situation, but through harnessing all available information, we seek to reduce the fog of war. Our understanding will be more detailed and should be served to commanders as a constantly updated picture, more akin to a 24-hour news service, rather than waiting until the news at 10 to find out what happened too late for you to be able to make the right decision. This support to commanders should be user-defined. The commander must define what he wants to know. And this picture must be a rich visualization which is easily digestible and complete, and not coming in different pieces on different systems. The idea of user-defined is perhaps analogous to the way in which we live our daily life. We define in our personal life how we take information from the internet, who we follow on Twitter, which news feeds we look at. But what we do when we look at intelligence work, you get what the intelligence community have decided to serve up to you. And this is not good enough. So, commanders at all levels will need to leverage the power of the intelligence enterprise, and those providing close support to commanders must be experts. Our intelligence staff and ISR personnel must be more professional, and the days of the gifted amateur in this space are over. Indeed, I see a different relationship between commanders, operations and planning staff, and the intelligence and ISR staff. It will no longer be sufficient for intelligence staff to merely answer questions or RFIs. In the future, the key will be to make the data talk. There will be insights and trends in the data that the analyst will uncover. Indeed, the key will be how we approach the data, comparing and contrasting different data sets to bring together a coherent picture and uncover the truth. All of this will require a change in organization and the skills required. Now, I personally am not concerned about ownership. Most of the ISR assets in UK defence are focused on collection in the land environment, regardless of their environmental ownership. The key is to organise to maximise their effectiveness. And this requires a tasking organisation with sufficient authority to be effective. Now, this has started, but there is still more work to be done. We need to ensure we have the right personnel, and this will include ISR managers, data scientists, statisticians, data managers, as well as broadening our analytical approach with anthropologists and sociologists. But our ISR and intelligence personnel must not become isolated, using a language that few understand. We must seek to integrate our operations planning and intelligence staff, where distinctions between G or J2 and 3, or J2 and J5, are increasingly blurred. And this is not an appeal for everyone to become a generalist, because that's the way to pasteurize or homogenize our capability, but rather it's a blend of professionals who are experts in their own field, but truly understand the demands of others. In this new construct, we would do well to recognize our own vulnerability. Resilience is as relevant to military operations as any other bit of government business. Educating about threats, adopting an appropriate counterintelligence posture, and making ourselves a hard target are important, indeed vital elements of military capability. And you heard from Julia about the prospect of smaller, less capable adversaries actually holding significant capabilities which may overmatch or challenge us in certain areas. To conclude, I would highlight there's never been a more exciting or demanding time to be involved in ISR. The creation of the ISR Brigade and 77 Brigade is a manifestation of how seriously the Army is taking information and intelligence. Our task, both within the Army and across defence, is to enable those organisations through wider defence capabilities. And across defence, we have the potential to deliver decision advantage to military commanders, and that's within our grasp. What we now need to do is realise that potential and deliver. Thank you.